With a name like Daddy's Head, I didn't know if this movie was going to be unsettlingly weird and creepy or something that I couldn't take seriously, but I gave it a try, and I'm glad I did. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. The IMDb synopsis for Daddy's Head reads, "A boy and his stepmother fear for their safety after an eerie creature resembling the boy's recently deceased father visits them." Okay, so this is an interesting one. It's almost as much about grieving and as it is about horror, and the mystery of the creature intensifies normal elements of grief. The formula follows mostly a monster movie formula where you just get glimpses, hints, vibes of something creepy going on, something that you can't see yet, but then slowly you're seeing little bits of it out of focus or just little parts of it. And so there's a progressive reveal, visually speaking, of the creature, but not really of the creature's concept in a way that I guess progresses much beyond what the trailer shows you. So the ending doesn't answer questions of exactly what or who the creature is or what he wants. And so I felt like there was a little bit of a component there where it didn't quite open up conceptually like I would normally want a monster movie to open up. It's ultimately a story about two people grieving someone who is like the only connection that they have that brings them together. And they have to, in the wake of losing that person and that connection, they have to figure out what, if anything, they are to each other when the person who linked them is gone. Nora is not Isaac's biological mother. His biological mother passed away some years ago, and his father, who recently passed away, remarried. Oh, sorry, I have Nora in my notes. It should be Laura. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Laura she didn't want kids, and she's very selfish. But I mean, not in a way still that I disliked her. I found her frustrating, and I thought, dang it, why did she marry James knowing he has a son if she was not ready to invest to be a mother to this boy, whatever kind of mother this boy would allow her to be to him? Why did she not count that cost and prepare for that? So that I found frustrating, but for whatever reason, we don't understand much of her backstory and how that decision was ultimately made. This is the place that they're in. And so I could at least, I think by obscuring some of that choice that she made and how her relationship with James developed and stuff, by not giving us much information about that, I didn't have much ammo to blame her with. And so I just took the situation itself and said, okay, this is the crappy situation that they're in, and I find her frustrating that she's in this situation, but I don't know the choices that led to it. So I'm able to just kind of say, crap, okay, how can they deal with this relational situation? She does come out and say at one point that she was never interested in having kids, but she just obviously didn't count the cost. That said, I do care about her, and I care about her and Isaac and them figuring out what their next steps are. I think a big question is whether or not she is going to end up taking a friend up on his offer to take James in, to adopt him basically, or foster him, or whether she's going to take on that responsibility herself. And that drama, that tension, that decision making that would all be, kind of normal, is exacerbated by this crazy creature that at first Isaac is the only one who's seeing it, and they're wondering, okay, is he so grief-stricken he's kind of lost his mind, but then he starts becoming a little bit more, the creature becomes more solidified, a little bit more seen by other people. And so that's where the horror movie really kicks in. The creature is weird and creepy, and it did not disappoint me as a monster fan who likes bizarre monsters that I'm figuring out over the course of a movie. Except conceptually, as I said earlier, that was a bit disappointing to not really get a full explanation of who or what this thing is. But when he's presented visually, it was captivating in all scenes. I was just like riveted by what am I looking at here, you know? And part of that was by a clever use of shadows and lighting that never give you quite the full look that you might want, or quite as long of a look at the monster as you might want. And so just the editing, the lighting, just the choices they made to hide the monster, as the expression goes, really effective. And I honestly wish that many more monster movie creators would do that, instead of assuming that their visual effects, their makeup work is so great that they can just put it on full display all the time. Okay, as far as performances, great performances, I thought, by the actors playing Laura and Isaac. Julia Brown plays Laura, and she really has a range of emotions. And yes, a lot of that is just grief, but it's different types of grief. It's depressed grief. It's completely hysterical. It's just shattered and numb. And so I just appreciated the range that she had, even in this single emotion that's some offshoot of grief and sadness. And then Rupert Turnbull, who I believe this is his first time in a film, is young Isaac, probably supposed to be about 11 or 12 years old, I would guess. And in a couple scenes, he's greatly upset, and I was buying it. But the script wisely doesn't ask him to cry much, if at all, putting him in a state of catatonia or denial. And I think that again, is good writing when you're going to have a child actor. Now, maybe Turnbull could just cry on the drop of a hat. I don't know. But I am totally sympathetic toward writing that just skirts around that and does not ask that of child performers, because most of them can't really give that in a convincing way to me. Performances in horror are very important to me because they make all the difference in whether or not I care enough about these characters to be afraid for them. And I feared for and cared about both of these characters, even with Laura's deep flaws. Okay, so as far as the stunts and visuals, well, I'll just focus on the monster. They, as I said earlier, wisely hide the monster, which hides the imperfections of the techniques that they would be using, and also builds mystery and suspense, which I think is great for the story. But when the creature is shown, it's a combination of practical effects, I'm pretty sure anyway, and definitely some CGI. And I think going back and forth between those two is a good approach. It rounds out the presentation well, and it allows me a sense of felt realism for the creature, even when it's doing something that in the moment I'm like, I think that's CG. Well, just a second ago I saw him and he definitely was looking physical, and so I can buy into the reality of his presence in the story a lot more if they at least go back and forth between CG and practical. So that was appreciated here. And the way they used practical and CG was such that it dodged the imperfections of those techniques. They only used CG when they really couldn't do something practical, and that it was really pretty quick or not really well lit. They were hiding what would be, to my eye, the markers of CG fairly effectively. It's not very ambitious in terms of its effects and its frequency of effects and expansiveness of visual effects, but when it does show the creature, it makes those moments count. And I didn't feel like the creature was like not shown enough, or didn't have enough scenes in which it was doing stuff that we were watching play out. So I don't want to give that impression that it was like so much about the drama and the talking that you hardly ever see the monster. No, I mean, you recurringly see this creature or its activity. And when it's doing its thing, I was satisfied visually. All right, as far as themes, is there anything of emotional, or what do I usually say? I'm recording this earlier in the morning than I usually do. Spiritual, philosophical, theological significance going on in the themes of this thing that maybe could trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation. I think I would describe the theme that I saw being wrestled with in this movie as accepting our situation, our family situation, and learning to love the family we have instead of the family we want. This is a pretty specific situation in which this boy, all he had left was his biological father, and he lost his mother by illness, not by divorce. And so he's been through some tragedy in the past that was no one's fault. And then he loses his father, and who he has left is his stepmother, who he's never had a good relationship with. And they have to figure out in this horrible situation who or what are they going to be to each other? And it's a very specific situation that I think very few people are going to find themselves in, relatively speaking. But I think we can all relate to this feeling of having someone in our immediate or perhaps extended family that we're like, okay, well, this is my family. And how am I going to, what am I going to do in this situation? Am I just going to distance myself as much as possible? Or am I going to figure out how to make this relationship work and have some good come out of it for me and for them? So, I think maybe that would be the theme that I would kind of latch onto. But I think it's more of an emotional experience. I don't think it's as likely to make people really reflect on their own situation, just because this one is going to be, for most people, too specific to be relatable, and they may not make that connection to their own lives. Anyway, no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I would go back in time and say, Peter, well, you want to see this one. Wait for it to be on a service that you're already getting for some other reason. You don't want to just get Shudder or get whatever streaming service it appears on just to watch this. It's not quite worth that. It's not one you need to own or that you're going to highly recommend to others, but it's a really satisfying and unique one-time viewing experience. So definitely worth an evening if you already have the subscription service that it's on. This one's rated TVMA, and they didn't give descriptors for why, but I would say for frightening images, violence, and mild language. And those are all of my thoughts for now on Daddy's Head. As always, I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining over at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Then I hope you'll check out christiangeekcentral.com. There's a podcast there for you, tons of other stuff as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. It is time again for Christian Geek Central's annual Game Save event, fundraising for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which provides free treatment for children facing life or death circumstances and shares its cutting-edge, life-saving research with hospitals all over the world. You're still welcome to join the Game Save team by following the link in the description below. Once again this year, I'm drawing attention to our team's fundraising by performing a 24-hour marathon of video gaming that I will stream live on youtube.com/ChristianGeekCentral beginning 6 a.m. Arizona time on Saturday, November 9th. You can donate or get more info by clicking on my fundraising page in the links below, where you will also find incentives and rewards for doing so. For $5, you can choose a topic for me to share my sometimes overly strong opinions on during my live stream. For $10, you get the previous reward and a download code for a free copy of the Spirit Blade Special Edition audio drama. For $20, you get the previous rewards and you can choose a game for me to play during my November 9th live stream. Pick a favorite or torture me with something terrible or rage-inducingly difficult. For $30, you get the previous rewards and can choose a song for me to sing during my live stream. Pick an old favorite of yours or just make me humiliate and torture myself with something no one wants to hear. And for $50, you get all the previous rewards and a download code for every MP3 product at spiritblade.com. That's a $90 value. On top of that, I have set fundraising milestones that will unlock fun or weird happenings as I reach them. At $200, I'll have a free download day for everyone who visits spiritblade.com on November 16th. And as my total goes beyond $200, I'll unlock increasingly more content for that free download day. And depending on how far beyond $200 my fundraising goes, during my November 9th live stream, I will cover my face in peanut butter and jelly while talking about horror movies, put on a pair of Frozen socks and a Frozen t-shirt at the same time, shoot water up my nose with a turkey baster, and have my wife Holly play a video game with me for 30 minutes. And if I reach a personal fundraising total of $500 or more, I will schedule a 6-hour bonus live stream before the end of the year to either try and finish Dragon Age Inquisition as my bitter old wizard Eldarest, or start a new roleplay focused playthrough as, well, that's a secret for now. Finally, if I reach my $500 goal by the end of Thursday, October 24th, I will do a 4-hour Get Good live stream before the end of the year, playing a frustratingly difficult game in my collection. probably another NES Castlevania title. Now, there are some stipulations and time limits on those rewards and milestones, so quickly follow the link below to my fundraising page for all the details. This year will mark 10 years since our first gaming-themed charity fundraiser for kids in great need of medical care. I hope you'll be a part of celebrating that and helping me and the Christian Geek Central Game Save team do some good for some kids who really need it. Then please join me at youtube.com/ChristianGeekCentral for my 24-hour marathon starting at 6 a.m. Arizona time on Saturday, November 9th. Hope to see you then. Oh my gosh. This is all kinds of wrong.